So as trainers, this session, whilst we want everyone to get as good form as possible, to make sure that they do everything to the right number of reps, not everyone's going to do that. And frankly, it doesn't matter. It is, ideally we try and get everyone doing it as properly as possible, but the most important thing is that people enjoy the experience and you care for the individuals. So know their name, be positive. If they want to drop down to 20 reps or 15 reps, then they can do that. So one element, warm-up. We're looking for consistency and continuity through every session. So we're trying to get the same warm-up at every location, at every session. And this gives the members an opportunity to learn the warm-up, to do it each week, to get to know each other, and they get 5 or 10 minutes to talk to each other before we then move into the dynamic session. So the layout of the warm-up is 12 steps wide, 30 steps long. And every 5 steps I put down a cone. So then the actual warm-up, we do a very simple run, a dynamic stretch and an isometric stretch. So we jog through the grid and then round the edge and back in at 50%. Then you go through a dynamic stretch. So for example, a side squat where you're going sideways, deep squat, a couple of steps, squat again. Then you come back in and then we do a hamstring stretch, which is the isometric one. So just bouncing into a hamstring and maybe accelerating off. And then the other leg and so on. Then we come back in. So you've done your run, you've done your dynamic stretch, you've done your isometric. When you get back in, we then go back into a run, but we build it from 50% sprint to a 60% sprint. Round the edge, jog gently in. When you get in, a new dynamic stretch. So this one could be facing sideways, twisting, bouncing. And then we come back in, a new isometric stretch. So this one might be a quad stretch followed by a small acceleration and then the other leg. Then you come back in, you go back into your run. So you're now 80%, so beg your pardon, 70% sprint. We need a dynamic exercise. So maybe a walking lunge with a stretch. So first off, just stretching the hips each side, and then maybe you go into a lunge with a twist. So lunging and rotating. And then further forward, you're going lunge and lift. Back in, another isometric exercise. So this time you might do, not entirely isometric, but maybe a high kick. So just stretching the hamstrings off and kicking back to get the hip flexors, and so on. Around the edge, back in, we're now into 80%. See, 80% sprint through, new dynamic stretch. This time maybe side squats the other way, or twisting the other way, or changing directions. Back in, new isometric exercise. So this is high knee over a hurdle, for example. A couple of steps other leg. So just trying, not necessarily isometric, but just taking it a bit more gently. Come back in, 90% sprint. Back in. This time another dynamic stretch. So this time maybe changing direction. So I'm explosive one way, explosive the other. Trying to really get the energy up for the group now. Trying to maybe push them so they can't talk quite so much. Back in, another isometric exercise. This one could be, again, actually we'll go back into a sprint. So build the sprint up to 100% sprints here, and then finish with the last rotational exercise, and so on. So you really need to get the whole body working, building in intensity, 3 or 4 sprints at the end. This whole warm-up should last about 12 minutes every single time. Then we come off, we circle the group up, we dynamic exercise, so just rotating the hips and the twisting the upper body, getting low. And as you're doing that, you then come up and ask everyone to go around their names, so shouting their names out, so even the new people get to know each other. And then we go into a very brief description of this week's session, and I'll be explaining each of those coming forward. So guys, so we have 26 sessions. Every 6 months, you'll be doing this session. It is a fitness test, but at the same time, it works every part of the body. It's a great gauge on how we're getting on, month to month, year to year, 6 months to 6 months. So work as hard as you can, set the distance you feel comfortable with, or the number of reps you feel comfortable with, and work as hard as you can. This is the Baker fitness session. It's a Baker test. We only run this once every about 6 months. It's a great yardstick for the members to have as how they're getting on. The real key for us as trainers is to make sure that they do the right exercises, that they do the right form, and so on. So I've got 9 cones laid out here. Each cone has an exercise on it, and then there'll be a sprint cone as well. So just to run you through the exercises very quickly, you've got press ups here. What we're looking for, particularly for the fitter guys, is to go from the toes and the hands and get the chest down to the deck and back up. 50 reps, and then they're going to sprint to the 50-meter cone and back in. Next exercise is squat. So they're squatting down to 90 degrees and back up, and they're trying to do these as quickly as they can, but they're also trying to hit good form, so getting the bum low enough. Again, to the 50-meter cone, back in, fast as they can. Next exercise is a Russian twist. So here they're going to be sitting, feet in the air, touching either side. There and back is 1, 2, 3, 4. 50 reps, 50-meter cone, back in, fast as they possibly can. Next exercise is dips. So here they're on their backs, fingers pointing at heels, drop down and back up. Again, 50 reps, sprinting to the 50-meter cone, back in, fast as they can. High knees. So this is knees coming up to 90 degrees. Every single cone should have the exercise written on it, an indelible marker. So high knees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, you just count on one side, not both sides. 50-meter cone, back in, fast as you can. Next exercise, sit-ups. So lying on your back, heel of hand rolls over the top of the knee, back up. Okay, 10 reps, please. 50 reps, 50-meter cone, back in, fast as they can. Next exercise is lunges. So we go back knee touches the top of the grass. 1, 2, 3. Each leg counts as 1 rep. 50 reps, 50-meter cone, back in, fast as you can. Side lifts. So here we're on one elbow, and you drop the hips down and up. 1, 2, 3. 25 on one side, 25 on the other. 50-meter cone, and back in, fast as you can again, please. And then finally, the last exercise is ski jumps. So we're going from one side to the other. There and back is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 reps, sprinting to the 50-meter cone and back in. Once they've done all the exercises, they go to the 50-meter cone and back in 5 times. That is your standard Baker fitness test. However, if you have people that are less fit, drop it down a bit. Say they can do 30 reps on each exercise. They obviously have to go to the 50 and back after each set, but then they only have to do 3 reps to the 50-meter cone and back in, as opposed to the 5 reps at the end. You can sometimes do 40 reps for those who are kind of intermediates, and I've got a few people who are very fit at Putney and Wandsworth where we run 70 reps for them, just to really test them. Basic fartlek run, we use lampposts where we can. On this particular set, we've got no lampposts out here, so we're just going to run it into the distance, making up the times. But normally, where you've got lampposts, I would tend to say jog 2, sprint 2, walk 1, and you find a circuit of paths that you can get back to the start point. It's incredibly simple and a good way to eat up some time, particularly around the Baker fitness test, that sort of thing. So here we don't have that advantage, so I'm just going to call jog, sprint, walk in about those distances. And we're going to go around the cricket pitch and back in, or we're just going to start it off, okay? So as a group, guys, we're just going to jog for equivalent of 2 lampposts, and then sprint hard as you can, 2 lampposts, and walk, down into a walk, and so on. And we would go around the whole circuit and back in. Okay, so this is the rugby cardio set. This is number 22. We're going to be opposite each other. This line we're going to call forwards. You're going to start on your front. We're here, and we're going to tip over our partner and hands out, ready for them to pop up. I don't want them popping up and putting their hands in eyes and so forth. Now Danny is going to call this. So he's on the floor. He's going to shout, ready, ready, go. And on go, he pops up, they pop up and push us to the 10-meter line, back in, back on their fronts. then Danny calls the same thing, ready, ready, go, and pops up, and we're going to do this 5 times. We're only going to do it twice for camera, but you'll do it 5 times on the session. Okay, on your call, Danny.
Ready, ready, go.
Let's get drive, 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 drive. Good, mate. Back in hard, back in hard. On your front again, please. Back on your front.
Ready, 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 go.
So he's waiting for the whole line to get in, and he does it a second time, and he would normally do that 5 reps. So here's the Hammond set, 10 meters and 30 meters. You split into 2 groups. The front group are doing the sprints, the back group are doing press-ups. You want to try and motivate the back group to do 25 press-ups per rep rather. So front line, you're going to be sprinting forwards out to the first cone and then backwards in. Imagine the referee's called his whistle. You're trying to sprint backwards as fast as you can. There and back 4 times. Ready, go! There and back 4 times. So that's brilliant. George at the back here is trying to hit 25. Once they've done 4 reps, guys, we'll pretend you've done 4 reps. Stop there, Danny. George would pop up and do 4 reps. That's 1 set. We do that 4 times. This is proper old school fitness training. This is the sort of fitness training that the members' fathers and grandparents would have done at school. So really good, fun, old school style fitness. Then we go into the 30-meter distance. So just for continuity, we'll have Danny and Jules up again. This time you're working with the 30-meter cones, which are the 2 pairs on either side, there and back 3 times. Maze at the back here, he's going to be doing sit-ups. No, running forwards out and forwards back. And they'll sprint there and back 3 times, not 4 times. And you need to be talking to the members here about why we're doing this, trying to give them validate the reason why they're out here. And the point is that when they get back, they'll be moving into sit-ups, which is locking up this core system so they can't recover as quickly. Okay, forwards on the line, go! And George is into sit-ups. So they would go 30 meters here, turn, back in hard. And once they get back in, that's 1, they're doing it 3 times, okay? And once they've done it 3 times, they swap it over, George does 3 sprints. They do that package, again, 4 sets of 3 reps.
British Bulldog is such a good game, so easy to run, so easy to do. I can't stress highly enough how big a field you need, as big a field as you can possibly get. Be ridiculous. I mean, go half a rugby field, go a full rugby field if you've got the space. You have, with British Bulldog, so the rules are very simple. No one's allowed outside the space that you've created, the half rugby field or the rugby field. You've got 1 person on one side and all the rest of the members lined up across the other side. On your shout of go, a scream of go, the person on that one side, that one individual, has to do 1 press up, and everyone else has to try and get across the grid and get safe. Obviously the person who's done 1 press up has to catch as many as they can, and they join the original team on this side. As they're walking back, this group will all be standing there doing nothing. So I always give them 10 exercises, so say 10 press ups as quickly as they can. This guy has got maybe 3 or 4 people realigned with 3 or 4. If this person's struggling, you might want to join their group and just get the game going a bit quicker. On go, all of them do a press up. The guys who are still free are trying to sprint across and get safe. You play the game until there's 1 person left. It's very simple, it's great fun. I use it a lot in training sessions, particularly to fill space at the end of sessions where the sessions run particularly quickly. So we've come to the end of the session. We're looking to do a cool down or a stretch. A cool down, you might want to do a reverse shuttle run, so you go 100% to the longest cone and then decrease in energy as you come down. Then we're hit about 55 minutes of the session. We've got a 5-minute stretch. Frankly, doesn't have to be that good. You can explain to the members while you're stretching that actually isometric stretches are best done when their muscles are cold. I tend to just do, particularly in the winter when the ground's wet and cold, I do a quick salutation to the sun, or slow salutation to the sun, with a few extra stretches pushed in. You can do any stretch you like, but it needn't be more than about 5 minutes. As I'm going through it, I'll go through it now, but as I'm going through it, I also talk to the members about events coming up and about various things that have been good about the session, that sort of thing. So I tend to ask them to legs wide, roll forward, forehead touches the grass. Obviously you can't get anywhere near the grass, especially if you're as inflexible as I am. Then hands hit the ground, feet go back, hips go high, chin goes low. Stretch that and hold that for longer than I'm going to do it, but not too long. Then hips go high, chin high. That's good. Then I go hips high again and just walk it back until I'm hanging again between the legs. And I look to go wide and stretching the adductor out. And if you can push them low on that one, even better. If they're struggling with this, on one knee, leg out to the side. Then I come into the middle and the other side. All the time I'm talking to them about events coming up, what's going on at training, who's done particularly well during the session. And maybe I'll do a glute stretch as well, so bring the knee across to one hand and just drop into a glute stretch. Then the other leg, and so on. After I've done both of those, I might look into an adductor stretch, so into a one kneeling side, push the hip forward, kneeling side, hand high, and rotate away from that back leg. And again, holding for 30 seconds or so. While I'm in this position, I might go into a hamstring stretch. So that's pretty much it. Maybe finishing with a quad stretch. And I always end the sessions with getting the members as a whole group to face the sun, put their hands on the back of the head, shut the eyes, 3 or 4 long, slow, mindful breaths, just trying to bring them back into the moment, trying to take the energy, the heart rate down a bit. And then we stop, if we can get them to clap, and then head home. So hopefully it's feeling really positive at the end of the session.